Hello everyone, my name is Connie and I'm an Angular developer who is interested in learning generative AI such as Gemini and Vertex AI. Today I want to talk about code execution. That is a new feature of Gemini. You can use code execution to prompt Gemini to generate and execute Python code. For time-saving purpose, I have already executed this block of code to create a Gemini 1.5 Flash model. And then I use this model in a single turn conversation. So in this block of code, I asked Gemini to perform a task that is not related to coding. I asked Gemini, like, what is the capital of France? And then I asked Gemini to generate and run the code that sorts an array of number in ascending order. And please test the function with an array of non-sorted integers. So yeah, let me run the code and observe the results. Okay, so the capital of France is Paris, which is correct. And then the model generates a Python function that accepts an array, sort it, and output the result. It also is intelligent enough to use the given array, pass it to a function, and print out the result. So the sorted array is -1, 2, 3, 5, 10, and 100. Similarly, code execution also works in a multi-turn conversation. In here, I create a chatbot without prior history, and then I ask the chatbot to generate two functions for me. So I asked the chatbot to run a function that determines whether or not a positive integer is a perfect square without calling the built-in square root function. So as a good programmer, I need to validate the input before using it to obtain the final result. So the function should output an error message when the input is not a positive integer. So when the input is a perfect square, it should return a tuple where the first value is true and the second value is the square root. So when the input is not a perfect square, the function should return a tuple where the first value is false. So let's run this code and see the result. Okay, so this is the function, and it doesn't use the square root function to check whether or not an integer is a perfect square. Yeah. Okay, so 16 is a perfect square and the square root is 4. 10 is not a perfect square, so the answer is false and none. -4 is not a positive integer, so an output is not available, and the function outputs an error message instead. So all cases are handled as expected, which is good. Okay, let's continue with the second function. So I asked the chatbot to generate and run a function that returns the divisor of a positive integer, excluding 1 and itself. I also asked the chatbot to sort the divisors in ascending order so that the final result is easier for me to read. So when the input is not a positive integer, the function should output an error message. Okay, so let's see what the function looks like. Okay, so if n is not an integer or n is not positive, the function throws a fatal error. Okay, so for I from n to the square root of n plus 1, so if n is divisible by I, then I is a divisor of n, therefore I is appended to the divisors array. Okay, the comment is very helpful, so I not equals to. Okay, so add the other divisor if it is different. Okay, finally, sort all the divisors in ascending order. So the divisors of 12 are 2, 3, 4, and 6. Okay, so the only divisor of 25 is 5. 7 is a prime number. Only 1 and 7. Can only 1 and 7 can divide 7. So therefore the result set is empty. Okay, minus 6 is not a positive integer. Therefore the function throws a fatal error. So everything looks really good, and I'm very impressed. So the final example is to ask Gemini to generate a function that generates the nth Fibonacci number. So in my prompt, I specifically asked Gemini to generate and run the function without using a recursion, and to use the dynamic programming technique. And I also specify that the index of the first Fibonacci number is 0. So the 0th Fibonacci number is 1. The first Fibonacci number is 2. The second Fibonacci number is 1 plus 1, which is 2, and so on. So this is the Fibonacci function. So similarly, the function tests validates the input n. So if n is not an integer, or it is less than 0, the function throws a fatal error. So if n is 0 or n is 1, the Fibonacci number is 1. Otherwise, the Fibonacci number is the sum of the previous two Fibonacci numbers. Finally, the nth Fibonacci number is returned. So the Fibonacci number is 1 when the index is 0. When the index is 1, the Fibonacci number is also 1. So when the index of the Fibonacci number is 5, the Fibonacci number is 8. Okay, so when the index is 10, the Fibonacci number is 89. Okay, so when the index is minus 3, the function throws an error. Okay, and then I asked Gemini to rewrite the above Fibonacci number function in TypeScript, and if Gemini cannot perform the code conversion, it should reply I cannot write TypeScript, and stop right there. Surprisingly, Gemini can do code conversion and can write a very beautiful TypeScript functions. The code looks good to me. It also uses console.log to output the result of the Fibonacci function. Code execution is very powerful, and Gemini is very powerful. It can easily rewrite a function from Python to another language such as TypeScript. Finally, I want to cover the cost and limitations of code execution. The code execution is charged by tokens. Uh, so code execution is built once for the inputs and charge for the output tokens. So tokens representing generated code count as output tokens. Code execution results also count as tokens. So please remember these facts when using Gemini to generate and run code. It is to ensure that you don't overspend your budget. There are 5 limitations of code executions. The model can only generate and execute code. It cannot return other artifacts like media files. The feature doesn't support file I/O or use cases that involve non-text output. Uh, Code execution can run for a maximum of 30 seconds before timing out. Okay, then we should try problems that do not involve a complex code so that the function can generate and execute under 30 seconds. Okay, in some cases, enabling code execution can lead to regression in other areas of model output, for example, writing a story. But there is some variation in the ability of the different models to use code execution successfully. So Gemini 1.5 Pro is the best performing model based on our testing. So yeah, that's it. So I have covered everything in my video regarding code execution. I hope you enjoyed this video and share, like, or subscribe to my channel. So thank you so much. Bye bye.